This episode is focused on the over 40 individual who is new to dieting, working out, getting healthier. You've already made that decision already. This is not a motivational episode by any means. It's for someone new and who just needs a little help and some strategy of what's the best way to go about losing weight, getting healthier, and doing this more in baby steps. There's always the New Year's resolution crowd that wants to do it all in one hit and then they quit. But you can choose what to do with this information after hearing this. But in my opinion, for the over 40 crowd, I think you should master each step before you even attempt to go down to the next one. It's just better doing this way. You'll get more out of it and build healthier habits that are more sustainable. So if you're still with me, stay tuned. How's it going? This is Brad Williams with Over 40 Fitness Hacks, the podcast where I help you, being over 40, to fight the aging process without giving up your social life. I've been a personal trainer and gym owner for over 14 years, and I specialize in helping the over 40 crowd get to their goals. If you need a little bit of guidance, check out my show notes. I have a link to schedule a free 15-minute Zoom call, and you can ask all the questions you want. But enough of that. Let's get on with the episode. So, before we start, just want to put out there, if you feel like I'm missing anything pertaining to the diet in general, just know that I put a lot of my health and wellness separated into different buckets. So the one we're talking about today is diet. Then there's movement, stress, that's physical and mental. Sleep is a different bucket. Inflammation, a whole bucket by itself. And you'll probably wonder why I'm not talking too much about gut health in the diet section, because I gave it its own bucket. And supplements for anything that you're missing that you need to supplement. So let's move on to diet. Number one depends on what type of person you are. If you're the type of person that listens to my show, is into fitness and into building lean muscle mass, then you're going to want to put protein as number one. If you're someone who puts more on the vegan, vegetarian diet, not so much stressing the protein, but more of just clean eating, plant-based protein, then that's okay. You're more worried about movement versus just building muscle. So you're going to need to put calorie counting as number one. But as far as my show, we're all in this to put lean muscle mass on, build our BMR up, which is our basal metabolic rate, our metabolism. So I'm putting it at number one and moving on. So as far as protein, number one thing before you're starting is go on to Google, look up a calculator for all your macros, and see what kind of protein you need. Sometimes they put it up a little high and it's a little hard to hit. So the easiest is 1 gram per pound of body weight that you are. And if you're someone that's a little overweight and you're at the 240 section, I would say max for everybody is 200 grams. So anyone from 300 pounds down to 200 pounds should all be taking 200 grams. That's in my opinion. You can check with your health and wellness professional, but I think just going too much farther past 200 grams, unless you're like really active bodybuilder, you have to watch out for your liver. Then there's the issue of what quality you're getting. Let's just start with protein shakes. There's the cheaper whey protein concentrate and all the other proteins, egg protein, milk protein, bean protein. I know there's something for everything, right? But concentrate is the cheap protein. That's for the 20-year-olds. When you're over 40, it needs to be better quality isolate. Then there's the really fine down process, the hydrolysate, and I just don't see the difference when I was taking that between that and just the isolate. So save yourself some bucks unless you really want to go for it. And then what kind of protein do you do? Whey, milk protein, is the highest bioavailability. Casein comes from milk protein, probably be just right under whey. Egg protein and pea protein, kind of depending on what Google page you're researching, will put one higher than the other. And these are all just talking about protein powders. Obviously, eating real meats is, if you're okay with that, is usually the best and the most bioavailable. And for that route, the cleaner you can eat organic, the better. But you can always clean that up later if you're worried about how much it costs. Just a little note on that. When I did do the carnivore diet 2 months ago, for the same amount of grams of protein I was taking when I was doing 2 shakes of pea protein isolate versus eating more ground meat, it was cheaper, but a variety of different types of animals. Same amount of grams of protein, more muscle. So that just tells you the bioavailability of animal protein far exceeds pea protein, and I would say whey protein as well. So until you master that, don't move on to the next step, which is, I think number 2 in the diet world is, if you're over 40, you need to put some kind of intermittent fasting or fasting schedule on. Not everyone responds well to longer fasting, which I think is great for autophagy, great for losing weight and clearing out all the debris in your body. But just starting with intermittent fasting, which basically means crunching down your time window to 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever works for you. And you just keep working on it till you find a system that works, which gives your body more time to the next day when you finally eat breakfast. All that time is your fasting window for your body to go into some type of autophagy, clearing out zombie cells, any bacteria, viruses, whatever, and hopefully using more body fat for fuel. That's the point as well. But, and most recently I just did an episode on this, the intermittent fasting schedule not only gives you that time window, but the whole theory too is however many times you want to eat, the fewer the better. So basically breakfast, lunch, dinner shoved into a 6 hour, 8 hour window, whatever, that whole meal should only take you a half hour. There should be no snacking in between meals. And the reason for that is, besides your fasting from dinner to breakfast, there's all those opportunities between those 2 to 3 meals that only take a half hour that you could finish, digest it, and your body should kick back in to some sort of autophagy as well as hopefully some fat burning. So the more practice you get on that, that is, I think, the second most powerful thing for the over 40 crowd. Then moving on to number 3 is calorie counting. And not so much giving yourself a job of writing everything down every day, but mostly just going on one of those calculators. I like using Legion Athletics macro calculator. If you just Google that, pick the type of diet you want. And we're not even talking about types of diet, Mediterranean diet, keto diet, carnivore, or balanced carb diet, whatever you want to do. Just see what your weight, your age, what you're trying to do, lose weight, how fast you're trying to lose weight, and get just an overall sense of what it should be. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a little bit wrong. And that's because everyone's different. Everyone's movement is different. So those calculators don't take into account, how efficient you get at something. And now you probably need a little bit less calories or more calories, but at least it gives you a starting point. So get your macros. Hopefully you're on my side with a little bit more protein than normal. And then eventually try to hit that calorie marker for a month and then adjust accordingly. Oh, it's not looking like I'm losing enough weight or I'm not gaining enough muscle, then adjust it up or down just a little bit. And now that's your new number. So going down the list, number 4 of importance would be finally you've got that mastered. Some people say, why didn't you talk about this first? Because I think the other things are more important for sustainability. Now you're getting some results. You're feeling great. Now it's the time to look at what types of food you're eating. And across the board, whatever diet you're doing, the non-processed foods, like anything that comes in a package, bad. Anything that you think in the olden days of if I was a caveman, could I scavenge for? Animals or plants, fruit. And if you want to do a lot of carbs, I'm pretty low carb, but if you do want to do more carbs, what carbs could you find naturally? Potato, sweet potato, things that you can find in the ground. So getting more onto that realm is just so much better with all the chemical processed stuff, oversaturated with sodium foods that are in our grocery stores today. And that is a huge deal, but I still put it in number 4. If we were talking about longevity, I think that would be higher up the list. But for this, we're talking about weight loss and getting some results here. So next on the list, number 5, is not only having protein with your meals, whatever you decide in your intermittent fasting schedule, hopefully you're going to do that. How many times you need to cram all your calories in. If you can do it in 2, that'd be great. If you're a bigger person, such as myself, I'm around 204. To hit my protein and calorie count, I need to space out into 3 meals. But when you have those meals, it is very important, and I've had episodes on this before about combining protein, fat, and fiber. I call fiber carbs because they're all low carb, but you can substitute fiber with carbohydrates because most carbohydrates has fiber in it as well. But having those 3 together with each meal or snack that you're doing synergistically works better than being by themselves. It just creates more of a hormonal response of signaling to your body that, okay, we got protein to digest, we got fats, we need more bile in, you got fiber in there, which slows down the process of everything is what you want for controlling your blood glucose levels and just making sure that you're putting those together. So for one of my first meals, I do a protein shake, and I used to do 2, but now I only do 1 because I think animal protein is just so much more bioavailable. But in that protein shake, not only do I put my protein powder in there, I have a fiber powder that I put a little bit of fiber in it. It's psyllium husk. And then I put a little bit of olive oil in and a little bit of MCT oil in. There's your fat. Now you've got a full meal, and you just hit the three components of synergistically making this work for you: protein, fat, and fiber. All right, let's move on to number 6. This is getting a little more technical if you're still with me at this point. This would be like month 6, because you should have mastered each one of these up to this point. And you could do a little faster if you want. But counting your micros, not just your macros. So go print out a list of every vitamin and mineral that you can. Go onto this website, eatthismuch.com, and then also Google what are the RDAs of each vitamin mineral for your age group. And I like saying that because legally I can't tell you what to take, so it's hard. All I can say is look at the RDAs that are out there. That's what the medical board has put out. Talk to your doctor. But for me, I started with RDAs and I kind of biohacked, how I was feeling, maybe upped a little bit of each one or lowered a little bit of each one, depending on my research, what my doctor said, and how I felt. So I'll leave it at that. When you go on to that website, eatthismuch.com, it's just a great way to find every type of food imaginable when you search for it in raw form. And it'll give you a breakdown list of every vitamin and mineral in there, which is different from when you Google certain nutrition labels or when you're in the grocery store. Legally, they only have to put so many, I guess, in their mind that matter on that label. They do not put everything. So that website will show you everything. And that's why I like to use it. But make yourself a nice little chart. And I promise you, just as I've helped other people do this, you're going to be low in calcium. You're going to be low in magnesium. You're going to be super low in potassium. And I promise you, your vitamin D is going to be non-existent. And then after that, pretty much everyone else is different. So you start fixing those, hopefully with real foods, and then you can always supplement that. But talk first with your health and wellness professional. So lastly, number 7, what we're going to talk about today, probiotics. It goes with gut health, but I also include it in the diet section. And more for probiotics, just, having a food product, not a supplement, that's in your routine that has been known to be a decent probiotic or prebiotic. And that is anything pickled, kimchi, sauerkraut is one of the most powerful probiotics / prebiotics. So helps put bacteria in your gut and also feeds that bacteria all in one. But there's olives and there's pickled vegetables, anything just like that. So just Google food probiotics that I can buy at the grocery store. Start playing with a little bit of it, making sure that's in your daily routine. It'll start helping your gut health, start helping with some inflammation. But like I said, gut health and inflammation I have is a whole separate bucket that I'll talk about in a different day. So that's 7 different things to work on in order of ranking of what I think the over 40 crowd should be working on. And if you're brand new, I promise you, you could be doing this in a week, mastering each one in a week if you want to go that fast. But take it slow. Do it how it works for you and your work schedule. And by the time you hit number 7, which is probiotics, you will have gotten so much results anyways. And you can start working on a different bucket. And I'll do another episode on that, which next in line will be movement. And it's not just working out, it's walking, cardio, all that kind of stuff, and my thoughts on that. I'll leave it to that. Hopefully you start working on some of these. And like I said, master each one before you attempt to take the next one down the list. All right, that's all I got today. As always, I put a link in my show notes for a free Zoom consultation if you want to chat and see if I can't point you in the right direction. Other than that, thanks for listening, and I'll check you on the next one. Hey, everyone. I would just like to thank each and every one of you for supporting my show. My numbers over the years have just been growing and growing on this podcast. One thing that could really help me and something you could do as a listener would be go onto iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. Any other podcast service like Spotify and Podchaser is also great, but iTunes is really where the magic happens for us being podcasters. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next episode. If you'd like a little bit of help checking out your diet and your current routine, I'd be happy to help. I always do a free 15-minute Zoom consultation for anyone, no strings attached, just to see if I can help point you in the right direction. So if you're interested, check out the show notes. The link is at the top.